Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with the blog to watch at Basel World 2015. I'm with Bulova and Gregory Toom. Good to see you again.
Nice to see you, Ariel.
I'm excited about some of these new watches. I think you continue to move in a fantastic direction. And I love to see UHF showing up more and more watches. But tell me, why do you think UHF is so important to the Bulova brand?
Well, UHF is the pinnacle of what we're doing in innovation. It's a manufactured movement made by Bulova's movement factory. That means that nobody else on earth has the movement in their products. And the movement itself is really our USP. It's who we stand for in terms of innovation, and the movement itself creates a lot of unique product.
I think a lot of people vaguely understand UHF, and I think it takes explain to them a couple times to really get it down. When you're speaking to people that don't know a lot about sort of the innards of watches and explaining what UHF is, it stands for ultra high frequency. That's the first level of understanding. But yes. What is your pitch when you're basically explaining to someone what is a UHF movement?
Well, UHF is you could say it's a quartz movement on steroids.
That's a good way of putting it.
Quartz crystal is a phenomenon, a natural occurrence. When current goes in, the stone will vibrate. What we found is by changing the configuration of the quartz crystal into a system that we call torsional resonator. It's a cool sounding term, but it's hard for most people to understand. Basically makes the quartz crystal vibrate at around 8 times faster than normal, which is 262 kilohertz.
How much more accurate is UHF than your standard quartz movement out there? What's an easy way of quantifying that so people get it?
Well, in a year's time, a regular quartz watch would be accurate within a few minutes a year. And our product, the UHF movement, is accurate within a few seconds a year.
That's a big jump. That's a big jump in accuracy. But we're talking about like really affordable prices. It started with the Precisionist collection. That's where UHF sort of had its beginnings. But you put it into such a more mainstream product, the Heritage collection, the more classic pieces that are more elegant. How have consumers been reacting nowadays to a very super accurate but really affordable quartz watch?
Well, I think the consumer that's become a watch aficionado, that has fallen in love with owning watches, when they go out to look for their next new timepiece, they want something different.
Right.
And what different means is they want to buy something of substance, and they're looking for who's got the coolest watch out there. That's something more than let's say an off-the-shelf movement type watch that's got a name on it, basically buying a licensed brand with a designer name. Going to a watch-only brand generally brings you to one of the, let's say, the bridge brands, which Bulova is one of.
What I think is so cool about it is, it's kind of like nerd approved, but very accessible at the same time.
Yeah.
And anyone can get excited about it. It's not like a marketing gimmick. But it's just like, I just get so excited about how it's not the type of, watch complication, so to say, that only a couple of people can afford. It's, it's really out there. This is the Bulova Military with the UHF movement. What's the starting price of this collection?
This is starting at $375.
So $375 for a really good looking military inspired watch. How long ago did Bulova make watches for the military, and what was that relationship like?
Well, Bulova was a military contractor, meaning
right.
The U.S. government contracted with Bulova to manufacture watches for the 3 branches of the armed services, the U.S. Navy, the Army, and the Air Force.
Right.
The reason why there's a point of difference is the movements had different functions for pilots versus for general infantrymen.
I think it's a really strong watch. It's clean, it's simple, and the added benefit of having that UHF high accuracy movement, it adds an additional sort of emotional factor. Because a military watch is supposed to be about reliability.
Yeah. Something
you don't have to worry about, and I think that it makes a nice emotional product for just a couple $100. And then there's a version with a chronograph as well. This is a new or newer chronograph movement in the UHF collection.
That's a
brand new movement.
Yes.
So tell me about this movement.
Well, first of all, the movement is a center second chrono, meaning you press the start button and the center hand is a stopwatch on demand. The eye at 3 starts going into tenths of a second mode.
So it's a 1/10 of a second indicator there.
That's correct. And after 1 minute, it stops the hand to preserve battery life, and then will at the moment you stop the timing event, will fly to the 10th of a second at that point.
So what's the price of these new UHF chronograph movements?
This watch retails for $499.
That's and it's a 1/10 of a second chronograph.
Yes.
That's super cool, really nice. That's a nice looking watch as well. This collection, does this remind you of something as a watch lover? Is there an era? Is there a feeling? Because I can tell in a lot you really focus on dive watches, like a lot of them. I'm a dive watch guy as well. What is it about some of these dive watches that speaks to you as a watch lover?
Well, it hits the nucleus of I believe a lot of guys that like vintage watches and are aficionados in general. It's a very sportive look that is not generally zeroed on fashion watches, and it's I guess you could say on a styling standpoint, it's the kind of watch that I like, and I find that a lot of guys that are into watches are in love with.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of dive watch, this year for 2015, you have the first real legitimate hardcore UHF-based dive watch with the Sea King. You bring back the Sea King name. I remember an old Bulova ad for Sea King, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was a guy who was like smoking a pipe or something like that, like on a boat wearing a Sea King.
Yes, that's right. We found an ad from the 50s.
That's a great ad, and so now you brought it back as a modern, machismo, durable, good-looking, accurate UHF-based watch with with a 3-hand and a chronograph version, and these are cool, and these are 300 meters water resistant. What's the case width on these?
The case width on this one, I honestly haven't measured, but I believe it's 47 mm.
47. It's a big watch, but super comfortable. How important is it to you to have a legitimate ISO certified dive watch in the UHF collection? Was that an important achievement for you?
Very much. There's something that would drive not just me crazy, but anybody that would buy a watch that's supposed to perform to a certain level. And with ISO standards, you have to be assured that we nailed all the requirements. One of the big things is the feel and the actual rotation of the turning top ring. Turning our top ring on this product reminds you very much of a Swiss-made product more than let's say the fashion watch zone. These components are top quality. The index luminosity and the hand luminosity match exactly. So at 4 a.m. these watches are on fire, still glowing in the dark, and the hand and luminous of the indexes are exactly the same intensity.
Marine Star is sort of what a lot of people think of as a modern Bulova dive style watch, and that's my collection. But the Sea King is really, well, the king of that collection. And right here is a watch that I think you're also excited about. This is the limited edition.
This is
an automatic mechanical.
This is a very cool watch. It has features that we've engineered in-house in our, call it our Skunk Works machine shop. We have a locking system that first disengages from the bezel, and this turning bezel or top ring then rotates counterclockwise like a diving.
I love that noise. I love that nice loud rotating bezel.
I could always say if you're a watch lover and you love cool new stuff, all we have to do is get this in your hand and we got you.
And this is titanium, right?
Yeah, great. This is grade 2 titanium because of the complexity of the design. Couldn't use a higher number or a harder titanium.
Right. There's a lot of interesting facets on the case there.
Exactly. So once you find that you're, let's say, starting your dive time at this time, and then you press this locking device in here, the bezel will not turn. So once you've committed to the minute before you flip over the boat into your massive dive, this watch is ready to roll, cannot turn.
Where'd you get the idea of this sort of double pusher approach for this locking mechanism?
Because if you accidentally bump one button, it will
not
unlock.
I see. That makes sense.
So it has to be double, and it's made so, say, easy to grab, so if you're wearing gloves, it still operates just fine.
So this has an automatic movement in there. It's titanium. It's also limited edition. How many pieces?
We're only making 500.
Oh, that's. I mean, for a brand like Bulova, that's really limited. How many limited editions do you normally make? That's quite rare for the brand, right?
We don't often do it.
Right. So it's actually a special limited edition.
Well, since we launched Sea King, we wanted to show the customer that we had some special model And we wanted them to feel that they can buy a watch that's not going to be reproduced. We're going to have it one time. I think it'll create more excitement. The case back is built with the deep depression so that the case back wrench can really get cranked down on it and get.
And it's a 1,000-meter water resistant watch.
It is, and it has a helium relief valve.
So it's an interesting watch, limited edition. What is the price of the Sea King limited edition?
$15.95.
That's really accessible. So these are the highlights of the 2015 Bulova collection, and you've been doing amazing things with the brand, some of the creative, some of the marketing materials. You really bring it back to sort of its American roots. What's the next step? Where's the brand going to continue to evolve? You're back in the Empire States Building. This is so cool. From a collector perspective, what is next, and how are you going to celebrate your 140th anniversary?
Well, our big celebration since we moved to Empire State is literally we're having a couple of launch events for our new building space. One's going to be in May, and another one's going to be later on this year. So this is kind of our opening year for Empire State Building. But the big thing for us is creating more brand integrity, brand equity, and evolving the Bulova brand. The USP of our technology is sitting in front of us with our UHF line. Plus, we're really focusing on men's and women's diamond product.
And then you have one special watch I'm going to talk about to end, and that's your 140th anniversary watch right here. I'm going to have you explain this interesting timepiece.
We launched the Precisionist Champlain model in 2010, and this was the case design. But if we can put it next to the original launch model, which is here in my right hand, there's about a 3 millimeter difference between the original Champlain and the 140th anniversary watch. And what we decided was, after 5 years in the market and still selling strong, the trend has changed on watch size. And we wanted to come out with an updated version of the Champlain for 140th year. So we made it a little bit smaller and actually a little bit thinner, so that while it's still got the macho look of like the machine that Champlain is, the 140th version is a little bit more tailored to the wrist and not quite as chunky, which I think is more relevant for 2015.
Yeah, I think it's just about wearability. I think people now are getting into watches more. They like a bold look, but they're very cognizant of what it means to have a watch which is too big or too small. That larger case size fits some guys. I'm not one of them, but this fits me really, really well, and I like that. And there's not going to be any other 140th model specifically. This has a special case back. Is it limited, or is it just made this year?
This is a special edition. That means that we'll make it for as long as the consumer wants to buy it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, we don't want to limit it to just a short production run. We think this is a really cool watch, and it's going to be available. By the way, the recording hands on this watch are in green. So the green color is the signature Bulova because of the color of our original Accutron movement was in green.
Right.
And so kind of in homage to that.
If you like the space view, you know that green.
Yes, and it's really the trademark color of our company. So we put it on the recording hands of this watch so that it really has a unique look. Plus the case back, I don't know if the camera can catch this, but it has the 140th year markings on it, which is pretty neat. And
are there going to be any other watches that have that case back?
There's one other watch we're producing that's still in development. It's a coin watch that has the Statue of Liberty head and 12 diamonds mounted on the dial. It's an absolutely gorgeous watch. It's super thin, has a coin edge like a coin, and it comes in strap only.
Interesting. Well, I look forward to all these new models. Thank you, Greg, so much.
Thank you.